Lady Chronos is a character who's starting to get more notoriety from a recent debut in live action on The Flash. Now, in the comics, the character isn't a Flash villain, but a Atom villain, who was his ex-girlfriend. Now, if anyone's keeping track, Atom, aka Ryan Choi, dated Giganta prior to his death. Lady Chronos is said to be his ex-girlfriend, and in Rebirth, he was romantic with Killer Frost. Meaning, Ryan has dated 3 villains. I mean, sure, Batman had gotten beat to that, but still, he's dated 3 villains. I think he has a type. That's not hate, by the way. If you don't know, Ryan Choi is actually my favorite character over at DC. So, this character I already knew about. But I never realized how many villains Ryan has actually dated when you think about it. Now back to Lady Chronos, she debuted in the all-new Atom issue 9 of 2007. She is Jia, an old-school sweetheart of Ryan's. He would get bullied by a guy named Alvin, but Jia would stand up for him, and after that, Ryan and Jia become close friends. After high school, Jia would end up actually marrying Alvin. And one night when she was drunk, Alvin would abuse her, as he has been ever since they were married, and she would kill him in self-defense and bury his body. But then came the Blackest Night. Alvin would rise from the dead and go after Jia for killing him. She would turn to Ryan for help, but Jia and Ryan's dad would be kidnapped by Alvin, and when Ryan finds them, he would be told what Jia did. And that only if she actually kills Jia the same way that she killed Alvin, that he'll let his dad go. This, of course, doesn't happen. Ryan managed to save both Jia and his dad from Alvin, which also results in Alvin being killed again. And when it's all over, Jia admits that she was only really using Ryan, but she does feel for him and feel bad about it. Ryan doesn't rat her out mainly because Jia did kill Alvin in self-defense. But there also seems to be some sort of thing there that Ryan doesn't feel like he can rat her out because he still loves her. Later on, a new villain named Lady Chronos would appear, where she would affect Ryan's powers. She would also ally herself with Chronos because of Brand, and she also is the time-traveling mother of Dwarfstar, another Atom villain. She doesn't actually do all too much other than just being the mwahaha background villain of this self-contained small arc, which is a really good arc in my opinion, but still, she doesn't really do much in it. But she does kill some people, and it is revealed that she is Jia, which of course hurts Ryan. Now, Jia being someone that Ryan trusted enough that he was actually willing to let her get away with murder, he is deeply hurt from the fact that Jia turns out to actually be a villain. Now, the reason why she is a villain is a little unclear, but she seems to have gone somewhat mad from the situation with Chronos. But she still loves Ryan and cares about him and even offers him to come with her to the future. But Ryan is heartbroken and doesn't love her anymore for obvious reasons, because she's a murderer. I mean, technically she already was with Alvin, but that was a different situation. Now she's actually killed innocent people too. But then comes Booster Gold. Yeah, this part goes off the rails a little. I couldn't even speak there for a second because it gets a little off the rails. After a fight with Ryan and her in the future, which Booster Gold is of course present because it's his present, he catches on and the two heroes have to team up and face her. Then Jia returns later on in the Booster Gold comics. Now as a love interest for Booster. He knows she murdered innocent people too, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care. They've worked together to deal with Starro, and the two end up sharing a kiss, only for her and Chronos then be later on getting taken over by Starro. That's a really weird ending. Then came the Flashpoint era, being the New 52, and because of that, she no longer existed. Now, personally, I thought the character was a pretty strong villain for the Atom, but as soon as she became a Booster Gold character, I feel like things went off the rails a little bit. Especially because when you think about it, Booster doesn't really come across the best in that whole storyline, because he very much knows that she was killing innocent people in the present day, but now has a crush on her and shares a kiss with her. And well, yes, Ryan did have a romantic thing with her. That was prior to her killing innocent people, and the moment he found out, he was heartbroken because he realized the woman he loved was a monster. It's a very different concept than just being like, oh, you're a serial killer? Cool, I don't care. The character did also make a live-action debut in the Flash show recently, in the final season, as a time thief. Now she is a foe-ish of the Flash and Iris West. However, it's more in a Catwoman-type area, as she is no longer a killer, like she is in the comics. Instead, she just likes to steal stuff. And it's from the future. They also gave her the clock face for the comics, which I must admit I really liked. I know it's really silly looking, but I have to say I actually really like that touch. It shows that they cared enough to incorporate that because it is important to the character technically. It's what helps her be recognizable. Now the name Lady Chronos is stated, but in my opinion, it doesn't actually really make sense this time around. Because when the comics, Chronos and her are connected. That's not the case in the Arrowverse. Chronos is a super character who has nothing to do with her. So, well, yes, I understand the fact that the name Chronos has to do with time and stuff, but wouldn't it make more sense if she called herself just Chronos and not Lady Chronos? Because that implies there's a connection. Why wouldn't you just take his name? He's not using it because he's Heatwave. Yes, the Arrowverse version of Chronos was Heatwave. Or maybe there is a connection that we just didn't see or have mentioned. Regardless, I thought she was okay, kind of like the Freak of the Week type of villain, but with a more bit of a character going on. She didn't feel like just the regular metahuman they're dealing with, but maybe like someone else that to deal with that was still dangerous, but not dangerous enough to be more than just a 1 week villain. However, I will admit, other than the fact that the character has her appearance and name, she doesn't really do anything with the character of the comics. Now she's even from the future. In conclusion, I think the character of Lady Chronos has potential. The whole idea of the character killing her ex-husband in self-defense was, in my opinion, a pretty deep story concept. And in my opinion, it was handled really well. It wasn't sensitive to the idea and the concept of self-defense. Like Ryan even admitted, yeah, she did it in self-defense. Alvin was going to hurt her. And has been hurting her ever since they were married. But Jia, of course, had trauma there, and kind of slipped into madness, becoming an actual villain. I think something there was really interesting. Even if they didn't really play in that area, it was heavily implied that Jia was kind of traumatized from the event, which makes a lot of sense. And Chronos saw that and took advantage of her. She makes actually a pretty good Atom villain. Now, I think something that is a weaker part of the character is her name and concept of the character in general. That being, a lot of people think that she's just a female version of Chronos when you see her, which, like we just went over, is not the case. She very much can stand on her own. So if the character was to return, I would maybe give her a different name than Lady Chronos, because a lot of people, and I really do mean a lot of people, like to say that she's a female version of Chronos, which, like I said, isn't the case. Now the character ended was, in my opinion, very weird, because it was written by different people, and you could really feel that from her first appearance and then her last appearance. Because it went from a deep storytelling of an abusive relationship and how that can affect one's mind, to her all of a sudden just making out Booster Gold, and him ignoring the fact that she was technically a serial killer. And because she never came back, we never got closure on what exactly was going on there. Anyways, that's it. Like always, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!